Hi Beeville, this is Cindy Clark from PAC-B TV, and I am here today with Carolyn Gordon, who is the president of the Baldwinsville Women's Garden Club. Hi Carolyn, how are you, and thanks for coming. I appreciate you taking the time.
Sure.
Carolyn is going to give us a little bit of background on the Women's Garden Club, about when it started, their mission here, and what they do, what projects they have in the community, what events they have coming. And also, she's going to give us the do's and the don'ts for waltzing into spring and summer, and what we do with our gardens to get ready to have a beautiful garden and to work in harmony with the insects, the bees, and the birds.
Right.
So anyways, why don't you just start out and tell us a little bit about when the garden club started, why it started, all of that.
Well, I'm not sure about the why.
Well, you can come up with a good one as to why, I'm sure.
1958, we actually have a member, Pat Gray, who remembers those days when the meetings were held at people's houses. They had lunches and they wore gloves and hats, and the membership was limited because they could only fit so many people in a house way back then. Well, it's continued, of course, all these years because the love of gardening and working in the community as a service and volunteerism to the people who live here.
And I think it's great because you can always, when people come through here, friends of mine that'll come through the village for one event or another, and they'll go, well, once you have all the flowers going, they'll say, it's absolutely beautiful in the village. I don't know if other people get involved, don't the villages get involved like we do with all of this?
I'm not sure. Some that I know of do, but there are people who stop kind of and say thank you as they're driving by, and if we're at the point garden working, or if we're weeding the planters, people acknowledge us, and it's really nice. It's
Give
great.
a little toot go, because I remember I was helping out one year, and they toot, they wave, and everybody goes, oh, it's beautiful,
it's
and
great.
it is. It's such a sense of community too.
Yes.
Because you get so many people involved, so many people appreciating it, and I think it's great.
It's great.
So what are some of the...
Well, this is our yearbook, and this is like our Bible, and everything is in here. So I'm just going to refer to it as we go because there's a lot we do, and I don't want to forget anything.
Well, certainly not.
Our mission statement, just in one sentence, is to strive to promote the love of and appreciation for growing plants within our homes, gardens, and in the community. Then I'm just going to move right on to our fundraisers.
Okay.
Our geranium sale is coming up. Well, let's see. Our orders are going to be, our forms come out Thursday in a couple days, and then they're due May 2nd by our next meeting.
Okay.
And those are mostly annuals. Those are all annuals.
Okay.
And then our perennial sale is really our biggest, and that is Memorial Weekend, always. That Saturday morning, 9 to 12, Tops Plaza on Downer Street. And all of the members dig. We dig our stuff up, we pot it, and we sell it. And for like $2, $3, $5.
It's cheap. It's very, very cheap.
Yeah,
I know.
It's
because
really,
I've priced some of the plants
really
in previous years compared to what your prices are.
Yep.
And I got to tell you, their prices are good, and the plants are all healthy.
Oh yeah.
They're ready to rock and roll.
Even I buy
in the
some.
ground.
Yeah.
So I buy a lot of plants there. I do.
Then the Peony Fest is actually the weekend after the perennial sale, June 1st.
First, is it June
in
1st?
June, yeah. And I had almost forgotten that because during COVID they didn't have it at all.
Right.
So now it's back, and all of our members do cut flowers, cut peonies. We collect wine bottles, put them in there, and sell them. And it's huge.
And I buy them every year. They're great.
Yeah.
They're great.
This is the alphabetical. I'm just noticing. Arbor Day, we do have that committee too. We don't do much exactly on that day, but we have a tree that we usually plant every year, and so that's a process as to researching and deciding which one and where, and talking to the town or schools. Our Blue Star Memorial is for those who've served in the military, and that we recognize. It's over by the Canal Park. We had a lot of people there this last year.
I was there.
You were there,
Yep,
right?
I was there. I was taking pictures.
And it was just lovely. The Christmas Bureau donations and the food is also over the holidays. We specifically, and we make stockings every year, like about 40 to 60 stockings to fill. We have Earth Day cleanup, which is new, which is not in here, but one of our members has started it. This is her second year, and we made the front page of the Oprah newspaper.
I saw that.
Yep. So that is coming up on the 14th. Emily Triggs Memorial, she is our founder, and that is in a parking area that I'm not familiar with.
I think it's
tree.
the Village Square. It's Village Square,
Okay.
and it's right behind Sheehan's.
Yes, and it's a tree, and it's kept up, and it's
You got a little memorial, a little plaque there, yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
We participate in the New York State Fair, of course, and they've made a lot of changes last year, so we're curious to see and excited to see how we can participate in it. Syracuse Home is not something that I think they talk enough about. Maybe people know in the community. Any flowers left over from a funeral service are brought to Syracuse Home, and our members go there and take them apart and put them in vases and
Little containers.
yes, for everybody at Syracuse Home.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
it takes a lot of time.
There's nothing like flowers.
Right.
Yeah.
And our beautification data is, of course, the point. Not just annual, well, perennials, our bed's getting bigger and bigger
Right,
with the
it
perennials.
is, it is.
And then we add annuals to it. And then we've got the planters, about 30, I counted about 33, 35.
We got a new kind of planter.
We have planters that are self-watering.
Yeah, that's right.
Over the
Right.
years, we've paid a few bucks just, to make sure, because the other ones were getting old and
Beat up and they're falling apart, right.
And so that saves everybody time. And then the hanging baskets, of course, that
When is the information coming out on there where you can order those?
shortly.
Okay.
Very
Okay.
shortly.
Now that will be on Facebook and your website?
Probably.
Okay.
Yep, as most
Okay.
everything is.
And probably the messenger too?
We had probably.
Yeah.
Val Gatman is the person in charge of that, and there used to be a lot of businesses, but again, I think it was during COVID that people, private citizens were paying for baskets. And in honor of someone, and so this year they're going to be red. I've been told.
Red, like what kind?
Yeah, red. Well, usually it's peonies.
Yeah, you think so?
Not peonies, I'm
Or
sorry.
geraniums or?
Petunias.
Petunias, ooh.
Right.
Now, will they get the wave petunias or the regular ones, do
Not
you think?
sure. Not
Okay,
sure.
all right,
Not my department.
Okay, all right.
And did I get to the end of it? And that is it. D for Village. So that covers the things that we do for the community. And next, you wanted to know about what to do for spring.
Yes, the
So-
do's and the don'ts, getting ready.
Well, the first thing that you would do, which is what I just did, bring your tools in for sharpening.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. We talked about that earlier.
We did. Yep.
Yep.
I made a stupid. I mean, the old-fashioned grass clippers. Instead of getting out my weed whacker and all of that, I wanted to use them just to trim here and there. Well, I was lazy one day and I used it to try to prune a bush, which forget it. Now
Okay.
they definitely need
No.
to be sharpened up. So those were in there as well. So sharpen your tools. Cleanup is next. 5 days at 50 degrees. So don't touch a thing. I know it's hard, but all the little bugs that are in there that we need to survive need that temperature. 50 degrees for 5 days, then you can
go.
You can go in.
We were Carol and I were talking earlier, and I was out wandering around the nice weather in my flower beds, looking at them, and the leaves, because I use the leaves for compost over the
me
winter.
too.
And I'm looking at these leaves, and it's getting real ugly, and
raggedy. They're
nasty,
pretty raggedy, yep.
And I'm just, I almost even had the rake in my hand, but I remembered the post
Yes.
that said 5 days,
5 days,
50.
50.
So
Yeah.
please
Yeah.
wait and help out our insects,
Right.
and ultimately you help out the birds and
The bees,
and everything. It all
Yep,
it all works
butterflies,
together in
all of it,
harmony.
all of
Yes,
it.
it does.
In
Yes, it
fact,
does.
I had I mulched my leaves, so I put them right in my garden beds.
Okay.
All right, so now I have a lot of extra leaves because the leaves kept falling, and I just put those for cover. Now, when I rake them off and they're dry, I will mulch those as well and put them back. So I don't really buy mulch. I just use that.
I never even
mostly.
thought about that.
Yeah.
Because usually, I don't mulch them all up, but as I'm raking them, they start falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I rake them off the beds, I take them out and put them in front because I'm in the village and they pick up,
Okay.
they pick up all
It's
that
worth it
stuff.
to get a little machine it blows it and it sucks it up to mulch. That to me is,
I will have to.
yes, it's
I
worth
will
an
have to
investment.
research that.
I think so, yeah.
You'll have to give me what you got because
Oh, I have
don't
an
even-
old one. Mine is 20 years old easily.
Because
Yeah.
that would save.
Yeah.
Even the raking. I mean,
Yep.
just to put it in there and then
Yeah. Yeah.
it's the continual refreshing of the whole
It's
system.
sustainable too.
Sustainable, there you go.
Yes,
That's a
that's
good
the
word.
word.
Thank you.
Magic
Thank
word.
you.
Yep.
Okay.
I saw this recently, no-till or low-till. Tilling the soil deeply, for those who are making a new garden bed or doing vegetables, you go too deep and you just bring all the weeds and things to the surface. So you keep it low.
Like
No-till or low-till.
how many? Like
I'm
just a few inches?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
okay.
That's about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Natives versus hybrids. Your perfect example is coneflower. Everybody knows your native coneflower.
Mm-hmm.
It's tall, it's got those pinkish purplish petals to it. But what is now being sold as coneflower are the really pretty colors. They're dark purples or they're all kinds of greens and yellows and everything. And those are hybrids. The bees don't get
Don't like them?
anything from there.
Okay.
Or the butterflies.
Because I have the basic pink.
They're
Yeah.
yes, and
That's what I
that's
have.
what they need.
Yes,
So
okay.
if you feel like you have to buy those because they're so beautiful,
They are.
grab a couple. But remember that they're not.
The bees don't
there's,
like them.
There's no,
No?
pollination going
Okay.
on whatsoever.
Okay.
With those.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, there's nothing. Would
No.
they be a hybrid at all?
No, they're nothing. They're
Nothing.
just there for pretty.
Okay.
It's like when they have the roses and they bred all of the scent out of them because
They
they're
did.
pretty now.
Yeah.
Right? There's
Right.
hardly any fragrance.
None.
Well, that's what.
That's really
that's what
sad.
they're doing. Yeah.
That is.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and speaking of bees, there is a chart on our Facebook page that you can look at. That gives more information on it. It's very, very nicely done.
Well, we've got to make sure we take care of our bees. I know a lot of people are allergic and they're very nervous, and I get that when you have adverse reactions. But if there's any way that you can sustain them in your garden or encourage them maybe in a part of your garden that's away from your house that you don't have to get as close to or something, we need the bees.
Well, you're not going to have all these foods in
Right.
this chart. It tells you, and I posted it on my personal page. There's all kinds of foods. You go on a picnic, watermelons. You don't get most of those foods because the bees aren't around. They're not going to pollinate
Right.
those
Right.
fruits,
So-
vegetables.
We got to take care of these bees.
Yes, and the butterflies.
Yes.
So, adding plants. If this is the time of year to think about your garden and your landscaping, adding plants for diversity and also for bloom time.
Right.
I look forward to, frankly, a fall garden because I want to keep the flowers and the blooms continuing. So we've got a progressive garden tour coming up this year.
When is that?
We're going to do it in July and September. We don't have the dates yet.
Well, I'll watch their Facebook site for that, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And
Now, where will that be?
that's to be determined.
Okay.
I have someone already who wants July. She said her garden looks best in July. And I said, and I want September because I have asters and fall plantings, totally. Lots of things that I like to carry through into the fall. And so that's when I'm going to be on the list.
You know what I found out too, or I think one of the most popular leafy plants, the hostas, they are not native, are they? I don't think they're native to this area.
I don't know that.
I think I went to something at Country Max.
Okay.
And I don't think they're native.
There are a lot
I
of
was
things that
shocked.
we have that aren't native.
I mean, everybody's got hostas.
Everybody. Well-
and so many varieties. and-
Yep. Which leads us to my next topic, invasives.
Yes.
So, Bradford pears, the beautiful, beautiful blooms. They seem to be everywhere. The barberry bushes, the burning bush, they're invasive and they're not to be sold in New York State.
Really? I
Yes.
didn't
Well,
know that.
loosestrife is also invasive. I think
I know
most
stripe,
people know
but the
about
other-
that.
Yeah, but I didn't know about the
Yes.
burning bush.
Yep, because it was interesting when I saw it posted on Facebook and someone said, well, my yard's fine. I don't have a lot of these bushes everywhere. They take them out into the woods and in the forest and they take over because they take the berries, they drop the seeds, and then they just end up taking over the what is the word I want?
Ecosystem or whatever.
Yeah, the forest.
I didn't know that. I did not know that.
Yes.
Thank you for that information.
So, I don't know that much about the hosses. I use them because I have a bunch of shade and there are lots of pretty colors.
They're very hardy.
They are hardy. I haven't really looked into their history though.
I thought when I went to this one class where they said they really aren't native to the
There are
area.
a lot of plants that are not native.
And I know, and I'm like hiding because I have a lot of them in my garden.
And it's interesting because the native ones are the ones a lot of people don't like. They maybe look like weeds, or they look like wildflowers, or if you want a more maintained garden, my sister's has to be perfect, and mine is more natural.
Well, mine's kind of a
And
cottage.
so and you have to be careful though, because a lot of native ones will take over.
Right.
They will just spread it.
All right. Well, so what are some of the other invasive, like catmint? That's pretty invasive too.
Catmint is invasive.
Yeah, which I like.
But it has a purpose because it's a pollinator.
Yes.
Yes.
But it is invasive. But it's very hardy.
See, these are the biggies. In fact, when we were talking about trees for Arbor Day and what the club was going to do, I was talking to one of our members, and she said they were planting or they were considering trees that aren't even part of this area. And so they're not doing well because they're not native plants or not native trees.
Oh, okay.
And so she's really going to research and whatever trees we find, they have to be part of this area so that they'll do well,
Right.
especially up on the northeast.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, let's see. Peonies were on my list to do for spring because of powdery mildew. And I just read this. It's from a Master Gardener site. And they are susceptible to that. And with all the wet weather we've had,
I
it's
know,
not
that's what
going
I'm
to
afraid
look
of.
pretty.
Right.
So they said as soon as, and they're just starting to come up now.
Yep.
You spray them with
You tell me what.
Spray for powdery mildew. There are a lot of things that you can use.
Well, what is good though? It's not
A
harmful.
fungicide.
A fungicide?
Is what they call it. Yeah, a
Okay.
fungicide. And there are several things that you can use. And nothing is harmful to the environment or other plants.
Yeah,
But,
okay.
and then I guess if it rains, it's from 7 to 10 days. Check it. I mean, because if it's going to rain, it's just going to wash it all away.
Right, so you gotta
have
prevent.
to stay up with it. Stay on it. Stay on
But
it.
now's the time to do
Now's the time to start it because
Okay.
they're just coming up.
it. Okay.
Right.
You know what? Another one of them, the bee balm. Later on in the season, a lot of time that gets it. Same thing there with the fungicide or whatever.
Yes, but the blossoms keep going.
They do, and they look fine.
Yeah. So
just the
sometimes the
leaves.
powdery mildew does not affect the plant at all, but it does affect the peony.
Peonies, okay.
The leaves will turn brown and they will fall off and they'll really live.
I know. I will remember that because I did have that.
Yeah.
Now, what about with like lilacs? I've noticed sometimes.
Lilac has it as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
but how do you
again,
deal with the lilac?
it doesn't seem to affect the bloom, the powdery mildew. It's just kind of there.
And it's ugly.
And it's ugly.
Yeah.
But it affects the peonies. I just
Okay.
recently read
Thank
that.
you for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
I'll have to make sure I get some of that.
and that's all I have.
Well,
Questions?
that's good though. Well, I'm just trying to think here. Once we get the mulching done, or get the compost off, the
leaves.
the leaves
off,
and stuff. We get
and then
that
you're
off.
preparing your soil.
Yeah, we got it now. Is there any type of additive or anything that you can put in the soil, or anything you recommend, or?
I lived in clay about 7, 8 years ago, and I didn't have any clay in my soil until I moved to Liverpool. And that's it. This is as far as I can go. And it's clay. It's like the stuff that you would use to build, to sculpt with. It's really heavy duty gray
okay.
stuff. So I am amending by adding. I'm going up, and I'm getting organic soil, I'm getting the best I can get
Oh, okay.
to amend my soil.
Now, do you recommend burning all your flower beds?
You can.
I mean, that just adds more. I mean, adds more cost if you want to build up with dirt
I think that's mostly a landscape feature.
Okay.
Although in my front bed, because 9 inches down, I have stone. which was put there before I moved in. So I am adding.
Okay,
And
okay.
between the grass and the sidewalk, I am mounding because that's the only thing I can do with it.
Wow.
So, yeah. There's raised beds. People use raised, actually, when I moved in, there were 2 raised beds in the back. That saved me, because when I moved, I brought about 50 plants with me. And they had to go in somewhere. And there were few places for me to put my stuff. So I tried to jam them all in. And that was good. The soil was great. Soil was great there, but I know why they did it. And they did it for vegetables, I'm sure.
Oh,
People
okay.
do that for
Yeah.
vegetables. So,
Now, what about like hydrangea? Any?
easy. They're easy. They're just easy.
I just let them
Yeah.
be. You know, I never understood this Trinidad. You've got new growth or old growth.
Well, it depends.
You know, I never
Some of
really
them-
understood that.
Yeah, some have new growth from the base. Some have the new growth on the stems. You just have to watch. Now, I didn't cut any of mine back until 3 weeks ago. I just cut the dead
That's basically what I do.
flower puffs, off.
Yeah.
And look at them, and now the branches are budding.
Yep.
So
I did notice that
and I'm
too.
not
So.
insane.
I know.
And yet, when I lived in another house years ago, I moved in and they were old hydrangeas. I could cut them down to about 2 feet, and they would just come back, huge.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's an old type, I think, maybe of hydrangea. The new ones, I don't think you can do that. There are just so many new ones.
And it's hard to tell the difference.
Yeah.
I mean, they all look alike to me, really. They're beautiful. I mean, I absolutely adore them, but they all look alike, really. I mean,
Well, when I moved in, I redid my whole front, so I added, except for one. One I didn't know, and so I had to wait it out. You just have to wait and watch it and see what happens. So,
and hope for the best.
Well,
And hope you got the right thing, because I'm never real. You know, I read it, and it says, and they show pictures,
Yeah.
and I go, well, that looks like it. And then the pictures of the one with the other growth, well, that looks like it too. And it's so hard to tell the difference.
well, you can ask one of us to come and take a look.
Maybe I will. Maybe,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
you know, so far so good, because I really, if there's a dead stem or something, I'll
And
trim
that
that
happens.
off.
When they get old,
Yeah.
you pull out the old stalks.
And you have to fertilize them with special, well, what do I use? Some kind of granular
It's
stuff.
you can, but you might be thinking of the acid loving, like azaleas. And what else grows? Rhododendrons.
Rhododendrons. I kind of,
Yeah.
my mother, I lived in the same house that I grew up in, and we had a rhododendron, and it wasn't doing well. And I said, geez, that was mom's.
Acid loving.
And so I did a little research,
Yep.
and this thing, it just took
Yeah.
off. And I'm so proud of it.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of it, because it's got like lavender type flowers
Oh,
on it.
nice,
Oh my
nice.
God, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. And just trying to think of some of the other stuff that I have in my garden that, other people that you sell, like your hostas, and you had a gal doing the dahlias.
Oh my gosh.
I bought one of those and brought it
Yes.
inside. I did bring it
Yes.
in because it flowered beautifully.
Yes.
So I brought it in, and now I got to check it out and see if I'm getting any little growth on there.
Well, the first time I got a dahlia, actually it was from Joy, and I kept it in the pot because I didn't want to put it in the ground and then dig it up, and it did great the first year, and I watered it in the pot. Well, this year it was so pot bound that I couldn't keep, it was always wilting, so I finally had to stick it in the ground with a number of other dahlias, rhizomes that I got from a woman in our club who's, and I don't want to dig these up. I don't want to dig these up. But they say, but it's so beautiful. You'll dig it up because you want it to come back.
That's
next year.
right.
And some of them were this tall.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. So
Well, this was the first year I had.
So we'll
I
see.
bought some at your sale last year.
Yep.
They were just little guys,
Yep.
or a little guy. And because I didn't want to get crazy, because I did that several years ago, and I spent hours digging those puppies up, bringing them down, put them on paper, and I said, oh my God. So I said, I'm not going to get nuts this year. And I said, do I want to bring it in? Yeah, I do. I do, because it was so
they're
pretty.
beautiful.
So
Yeah.
we'll see if it's
So
if it
yeah, I
wintered
will see how viable. I mean, I put mine in keep getting perlite or vermiculite, I think. And then just mist them every now and then, and they're in the dark in the closet, in a cool closet. And I haven't looked at them for like a month now.
Not either I, so
So I
I
have to
better check it out.
Take a look
Yeah,
and see what's going on.
Well, if not, I'll have to, she'll probably have them again this year.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, because she's got quite a garden.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, she's up near Fulton, isn't she?
Yeah,
She has,
and she has a cut flower business.
yes.
Yeah, and so, yeah,
I'd like to go see that.
amazing.
Yeah, I would like to.
Yeah.
She spends a lot of time on that.
Yeah, well, it's a business.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I imagine she does.
Yeah, wow, it's beautiful. Yeah.
So I'm thinking we've probably, I can't think of any more questions. I'll think of 100 probably afterwards. But I think we've covered the basics and what you do. The main thing, 5 days, 50 degrees,
Yep.
right? Okay. Now, and Carolyn has covered all the events.
Yep.
We've got all the events coming up, and if you want to look to see what's happening, look on their Facebook site. If you have questions about where maybe to get your tools sharpened in the area here, just go to go to Facebook, go to their
We don't have
website.
anything on there yet, but we can put. I don't want to single out specific ones because
Okay,
we don't
well,
wanna
just make
let everybody
if
out.
somebody asks you,
Yes.
you can
Yeah, I feel bad leaving
give them
somebody out.
choices. Give them choices,
Choices,
I
that's
guess.
true.
Yeah,
Right.
choices because that's
Right.
critical. Instead of going out, because you said you used to buy new stuff, and then
And
again,
then I
it gets
kept the
expensive.
old ones because I didn't want to throw them
Throw them out,
away.
never throw anything
That's not
away.
sustainable, you
Right.
know, so, yeah, so now.
Well, it's smart to do
on
that.
place, yeah.
It is. I used to. A friend of mine used to have a grinder. He used to do
Wow.
that like that, but now
Right,
that's
right.
gone, and so now we have to go to we have to figure out where we're going to go to get our stuff sharpened. Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to mention that I just thought of,
Okay.
because it happens to me a lot, but because I'm gonna have this on the progressive tour in September, I really have to get my act together and decide where to put things.
Okay.
Finally.
Okay.
I move stuff a lot. If it's not doing well in one
Yep.
spot,
Yep.
move it and put it somewhere else.
Try it out.
So that's pretty commonplace for me. I'm moving stuff all the time.
Well, I had like some hydrangeas, and here's another thing too that I found out the hard way, because in the back area, I've got like a small front yard, and then behind the house, between the garage and the house, I have another little area and a side area, alongside the house, and then in the back, in my little fenced-in area, I have another garden, but there's a black walnut tree. And I suffered for years, and a friend of mine who used to run the landscape or all lands at this New York State Fairgrounds,
Okay.
God rest his soul, I kept telling him, because he loved flowers too, and he said, it's that black walnut tree it's giving you problems. And the hydrangeas didn't like it, baby's breath didn't like it. There are certain plants, but that's all I have out there because that's all that will
Okay.
grow well.
Yep.
So you have to work with it. I'd like the tree to go,
Yeah.
but because then you got to pick up those walnuts and they fall thousands and thousands and thousands of them. You got to get rid of them. But just remember that if you are having difficulties with some plants doing well in certain areas and the same plant not doing well,
Right.
check to see if you have a black walnut tree, because that whatever drips down
Right.
from the leaves.
Well, it's in the
Is it in the
soil,
surface? But
roots.
isn't there something that drips too?
That
from?
one I'm not familiar with. But
I
30
know
years ago, I ran into that problem where I lived, and I couldn't understand why things didn't grow. And then it was a long time before I figured it out.
Well, same with me, and I struggled, and then as soon as he said that, and I wrote to somebody, they used to have an article in the Post-Standard from the Cornell Extension.
Okay.
So I wrote him a letter, and she sent back some information.
Carol.
Carolyn, yeah, Carol, you're right.
Yeah.
Watson, is it Watson?
No.
No, she
that's
does
another
the other one, okay. But she referred me to a site from the Cornell Extension, and it has all the plants that do well, don't do well with the grasses, the shrubs, the trees, everything are perfect. I've had it for 15 years now.
Okay.
It was perfect. It was
Good.
perfect.
Good,
You have
good.
questions too. That's where I get a lot of questions answered, is the Cornell Extension,
Yes,
because they're
yes.
very, very good about
They
that. Or try to find a local master gardener who can give you those answers as
Right,
well.
right.
But if you have questions about gardening, you're not too sure, you can write into them, you can get the website off the Facebook site.
Yeah,
It's
just
the
put it-
Baldwinsville Women's Garden Club.
Of balls, any
One of those.
combination of any of that, and you'll find it'll
Okay,
come. It'll
so if
come
you
up.
have gardening questions or anything like that, if there's something that we didn't cover today,
Yep.
then give them a little shout out on their website, and I'm sure they'll be happy to answer and respond to you because you have the love of gardening and plants, just like you out there. I'm
Yeah,
sure you
right, in
do.
our club, yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
But anyways, thanks again.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you spending time with me. I could go on and on and on, just like you could for days here. But thanks again for coming. I appreciate all
Thank
the
you.
great information you
Sure,
gave us.
sure.
And if you do have questions, you can contact them through their website. And I'm sure, like I said, that they will get back to you.
Yeah.
But anyways,
Very
have a good one and enjoy your gardening.